Hi, everyone. I'm Angela Chandler, the National Sales Manager for Infinitus Canada. And today I'm lucky to be able to have a quick interview with David Lloyd. He's our TCM practitioner, and he's a registered acupuncturist. David's published several books, and he has helped with the TCM regulations in Ontario. He officially came on board with us as an advisor in 2018. So as you know, we've been talking a lot about building your immunity and the importance of qi. So I put together a few questions for David. And with David's help, we're going to see if we can help everyone else understand a little bit more about qi.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Excellent. I'm so glad that you had the time. So my first question for you then is, what is qi?
Okay, I'll start this off by saying this is a really deep subject. So I'll do my best to put this in ways that people can understand. I'm also very happy to take questions from people as they kind of need them too. So, but qi, in terms of its place within traditional Chinese medicine, and to a certain degree within traditional Chinese culture, is always considered a form of energy. So you can have a certain type of energy in a room, and that would be considered a form of qi. So if it's like a really positive room, or really great people that are surrounding you, that'll give you a certain type of energy. When we talk about qi in traditional Chinese medicine, generally what happens is we're talking about energy within the human body. But qi as a term has its place outside of the human body as well. So, the weather is considered a form of qi. But when we talk about this from the standpoint of things like herbal medicine, we're talking about qi that's inside of the human body. And you can kind of consider that like a form of kind of bioelectricity or like an energy within the human body.
And that's interesting. I mean, I learn something new every day from you. So the second question that I have for you is, why is qi important?
Well, okay. So imagine that you had a car, and you have your engine, and it has all of these different parts and all of this fuel, but it didn't have spark plugs. So it didn't have something to like drive all of those functions. You think, wow, it's really great. I have an awesome backup camera in my car. Well, if you don't have electricity, if you don't have energy to drive that system, then all of the different aspects of your car they don't work. They don't work. So qi is very similar in that sense. So from a traditional Chinese medical perspective, and Western science has these types of things too. It's a little bit more complicated when you go and try and explain this stuff with Western science. But in traditional Chinese medicine, it's qi that drives all of these processes. So if you have a deficiency or a low level of energy, your immune system doesn't have the energy that it requires in order to work effectively. If your qi is low, your digestive system won't work very well. And if your digestive system doesn't work very well, then you won't get the nutrition out of the food that you eat to drive, again, something like immune function or brain function, or really anything inside of your body is driven by this concept of like a biological energy source. And so it's probably, in traditional Chinese medicine, it's one of the most fundamental aspects of all of your systems, is that your qi is working effectively, and that it's driving all of these systems to help replenish itself.
Okay, so that leads me to my next question, because I heard you touch on it a little bit, but many people don't really understand qi. So to help them understand it a little bit more, how would someone know if they have healthy or unhealthy qi?
Okay, so you can have too much of a good thing. You really can. And so, again, going back to the analogy of the engine in your car, you can have your engine running at really, 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 really high level RPM, and it generates a lot of heat, and it causes a lot of it causes the fluids inside of your engine to start to get thinner, or sorry, to start to get thicker, because the fluids are burning out because of all the heat that's generated by the engine. So in traditional Chinese medicine, you kind of want to get there's like a therapeutic dosage level where it's at a certain level it's healthy, at a certain level it's unhealthy, and if you go above that or below that, it's unhealthy, and you want to kind of stay in the middle. It's all about balance. So in the future, when you hear us talk about yin and yang and things like that, that's where that comes in. You really want to have it at a balanced level. So what can happen, or how you can tell if you have healthy or unhealthy levels of energy inside your body, or qi, is if you're feeling low, like you don't have a lot of energy, your voice isn't carrying very well, maybe your digestive system is a little bit sluggish, you may, you're short of breath, those may be signs that your energy level is a little bit on the lower side. So that's when you have a deficiency or you have a weakness. But you can have too much of a good thing too. So what'll happen if you have like really excessive qi levels, what'll happen is you'll have a bright red face, you'll feel hot a lot, you might get ringing in your ears, and again, think of it like an engine. If you're putting your foot to the floor and you're driving all of this energy production inside of your engine, you'll get that same type of a response where it'll overheat. The gears will start to get stuck. We call that stagnation in traditional Chinese medicine. So you can get too much, you can have too little, and you want to be in the middle. And when you're in the middle, that's how you know that you're quote unquote healthy. And that's basically when you don't have any symptoms. It's not a matter of I need more all the time, and you can have too little. And it's really about being in the middle. So if you're sleeping well, if your digestive system's working well, if you feel emotionally okay, if you have a healthy complexion, you're not too pale, but you're not really bright. You're not emotionally. If you have a qi deficiency, you may feel very unmotivated. If you have a qi excess, you'll be really irritable because you'll have all this extra energy and it has nowhere to go. So you want to kind of get in the middle. You want to be balanced. You want to take, like a middle path. You don't want to be too much. You don't want to be too little. So that's kind of how you can tell if it's healthy or unhealthy. If you're feeling pretty good, then that's a pretty good indication that you're healthy in those respects. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of led into the final question that I had for you was, is it possible to have too much qi? And you've kind of a little bit touched on that, where we don't want to have too much because then we're irritable and there's excess and we're not feeling very good there. And then if we're too low, we're not feeling good. So, you saying you can have too much of a good thing, it is kind of wow, because you would think that more qi would mean more energy, more, everything would be better. But you're saying that's not the case.
No, it's definitely not the case. If you go back in written Chinese character history, before the character, I'm talking about traditional characters here in terms of like what I'm imagining in my head. So there's a character for qi that is currently used that represents the idea of steam rising off of rice. But before that character, there was another character that said no fire, which I think is really interesting. This is where you get into the idea of an excess or deficiency. You can see this in electrical appliances. So imagine that you had a fan running in a room and it's plugged into the wall. Well, what do you get from that, right? You get this
Yeah,
wind.
cool air and the air's
Yeah.
yeah.
But what happens if you put too much energy through the electrical circuits? They catch on fire.
That's right.
And what happens if you put too little through? Catches
It
on
won't
fire.
run.
No, it'll catch
Oh,
on fire.
really?
Because there's too much resistance, because there's not enough energy moving, and it catches on fire. So if you put too much electricity into something like a fan,
Hmm.
it'll catch on fire. If you put too much in, it'll catch on fire. If you put too little in, it catches on fire. And qi, the Chinese character for qi, originally, or I don't know originally, but this one before that's used currently represented no fire when you write it. So it was all about balance, and that was how you got qi. That was how you got energy, was that you were balanced, and you didn't have so no fire. And I have my own thing where, um, well, it's actually not my own thing. There's research that's been done by Professor Koh at Infinitus, where he talks about energy levels in regard to inflammation, and it's really cool because inflammation, no fire. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it's really neat. This ancient stuff really has a lot of value behind it. So yeah, you can get too much of a good thing in that respect. But I do have one thing that I want to mention on that question that I think is really cool about Infinitus. And traditional Chinese medicine in general will have this, but Infinitus has this definitely, which is kind of nice. When you create an herbal formula, the way that you avoid these potential issues with having qi stagnation or excessive levels of qi is that you use a variety of herbs to counterbalance each other, so you don't get these excesses, you don't get these deficiencies. If you take a bunch of herbs that increase your qi levels, you probably will get some form of stagnation if it's just a single herb and you're taking it in really high doses. But if you put it in a general formula, if you put it in a balanced view, then you don't have to worry about those things. And in regard to Infinitus, those things are built into the products, which is really cool. Like the traditional Chinese herbal products, they're built into it. So, and I've sat down and dissected all the formulas and looked at, what herbs go up and down and move and stick and generate energy and move energy and all of that kind of stuff, generate blood and move blood, so that you don't get these negative effects, and then you just get the positive ones. And that's part of the way that traditional Chinese medicine is built. And it's nice, when I met Infinitus, that was one of the things that the light bulb went off over my head, and I thought, oh geez, these guys, they really know this stuff. And so it's really nice working with them in that regard. It's been really cool.
Excellent. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for answering these questions for me and for those of us that don't know the answers. I look forward to having more interviews with you and candid conversations about our products and yin and yang, like you said.
Yep.
There's so many different things to talk about. But if you don't know already, this is David Lloyd. He is our scientific advisor at Infinitus. He is a TCM practitioner, and he also is a registered acupuncturist. And again, thank you so much, David. I appreciate your time, and we will talk soon.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm honored, and I look forward to doing it again.
All right. Thank you so much.